I'm happy to.
A couple of slides for each
I'm
one.
going to go through.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
not a big deal. It is September 1st, 2021, 7:01 p.m. We are going to call the regular meeting for the Ottawa City Commission to order. Would you please begin with the roll call?
Mayor Kaler,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley,
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore,
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen,
Present.
and Commissioner Wygand is absent.
Great. Well, we want to thank those that are present with us today in person, and also thank those that may be watching now via social media or some other electronic venue. Thank you so much for being part of it. I know that people watch this afterwards and know that that means a lot. I always appreciate when I hear from citizens who want to be engaged as a part of the City of Ottawa. Thank you so much again for being here, and we are going to start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation, which will be led by Pastor Mark Hutton of Westminster Presbyterian. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. Let us pray. Well, God, it's been a long day already. There's been meetings, there's been activities, but here we are. We pause. We give you thanks for the day that has been before us. We give you thanks for the time that is before us now. And God, I ask that you grant your city commissioners an extra breath of encouragement, of renewal, a breath of refreshment as they begin to face this meeting and the decisions that need to be made. May you grant them clarity. May you grant them a spirit of collaboration. We give you thanks for their service, for their love of the city and its community. God, we also give you thanks for the way that you are and the way that you move within this city. We give you thanks for the blessing that it is for us to be here, to call this place home. But God, it comes with trials and tribulations, so we trust in your providence. We're probably a little tired right now, tired from the day, but I think we're also tired, just tired of everything that's going on in our world. So God, may you grant us rest, grant us encouragement, and grant us a peace that comes from you, knowing that you are the God who is in control. God, we give you thanks for those who serve you in this community, for our first responders, our law enforcement, for all those who are working in healthcare and in other ways that they serve people who are in such need. We give you thanks for the ways that people care for one another and pray that that continues. And as we continue to work on being a community of care and inclusivity, may you grant the residents of Ottawa a spirit of collaboration, just as I ask for the spirit of collaboration for our commissioners. God, we give you thanks and praise, and we pray this in the Divine One's name. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Mark. We appreciate that. Commissioners, that moves us on to our consent agenda, which includes minutes from the August 16th meeting and the August 18th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That moves us on to public comment. Are there individuals who have registered for public comment today?
We have one, but it's during the budget hearing.
Nobody asked about me.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Okay. Is it during an agenda item?
No.
Okay.
You would
Come
like
on
to
up.
make public comment right now?
Yeah.
Come on up.
Sure.
I'm going to read a paragraph for you and for all those that will be issuing public comment today.
Yeah.
Subject to the above restrictions, persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items on the agenda may do so as that agenda item is called. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items not on the agenda but are under the jurisdiction of the City Commission may do so at the time that they are called upon by the mayor. Comments on personnel matters and matters pending in court or outside other tribunals are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and any presentation is for information purposes only. The governing body will take comments under advisement. So please tell us who you are and give us your address for us, please.
Yes, my name is Gregorio Hernandez, or Greg Hernandez. My address is 1024 North Mulberry, Ottawa, Kansas. This is, I just came today to kind of update you on the status of some property that is being worked on. I did an inspection today of my trailer at 821 South Cherry and determined that it's not functional. After I cleaned out and I saw what the damage was, well, then it'll have to be demolished. So that's, I think the city knows that, or I think the codes department knows that. I just want to kind of update you too. Now on the properties on Locust Street, 806 or 906 and 918, I handed to Wendy Lee a timetable, an estimate, and proof of financing. And I just wanted to make sure those were the things that seemed like needed to be done before we could kind of proceed with it. And those have been done. I think I handed to her on Tuesday, maybe Monday. Yes. So I just wanted to let you know. You said keep in touch. Now, whether you meant that or not, I don't know. But I'm just keeping you in touch.
Well, Mr. Hernandez,
Yes.
Oftentimes we do say that to tell people to keep in touch, but we really appreciate that you took it literally
Yeah.
and are back
Hey.
to tell us exactly what you're doing. So
Yes.
thank you so much for being a part of the process and trying to move things forward.
No problem. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Are there others that have registered for public comment?
We have one during the budget hearing.
Okay, great. Next, that moves us on to declaration. At this time, I'd like to give commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Commissioners? Okay, seeing none, we will move forward. Item 10.
Public hearing regarding intent to levy property tax exceeding revenue neutral rate.
Preliminary comments by the Director of Finance, Melanie Lantis, or Richard Neinstead, which Melanie is going to give us her comments. A public hearing has been scheduled to receive comments on this matter. So I'm going to open this public hearing and I'm going to yield to Ms. Landis about her comments to begin this hearing.
Thank you so much. I will ask that the PowerPoint presentation be brought up. This was prepared with the idea that we do have some people listening from home, and also will be available later for reference by our community and any of those that are interested. In March of 2021, the Kansas Senate Bill 13, also referred to as SB 13, was passed enacting new policies and procedures for local governments effective for the 2022 budget process. SB 13 repeals the tax lid, which was the process for budgeting for all local units for the past 4 years. The city has received a revenue neutral rate of 44.396 as calculated by Franklin County. Next slide, please. The City Commission passed a resolution in July as part of the new process under SB 13, which notified Franklin County that there would be the possibility that we would exceed the revenue neutral rate, and it also set the ceiling of 45.956 mils. In the first year in the bill, it does not require the county to set out notifications to every resident in the city of Ottawa, but in future years, that's what will generate that process in the month of July each year. No vote has been made approving the budget or an estimated mill levy to date other than setting the ceiling, and SB 13 also requires that we hold a public hearing for any concerns by our public. So this public hearing is not for the budget itself, but only that you intend or potentially intend to exceed the revenue neutral rate, which was set at 44.396. The next item on the agenda after the public hearing would be the request to approve a resolution acknowledging the same. And then we would be able to move ahead with a public hearing for adoption of the budget. So that would be the process going forward. Next slide, please. This slide simply shows the calculation as to how the county came up with the revenue neutral rate. It does provide the actual calculation, so it is calculated. The purpose is that it would show our residents what a mill rate might look like if we were to use the exact same amount or number of tax dollars from last year towards, or this year's budget towards next year's budget. And so it uses that budgeted ad valorem for this year's budget of $4.897 million, and it takes it against or divides it by the new assessed valuation for this year, which is to be used for next year's budget of $110 million. And then we multiply that by 1,000 to come up with that rate of 44.396. So with that, if I would stand for questions and leave the public hearing open.
Do you have questions about the initial comments made by Ms. Landis for us regarding, and for actually, it's not just for us, it's for really for the citizens about this particular hearing, which is a brand new process for us. The R&R hearing is completely a new process. Questions? No? All right. So we do have, thank you. I am going to, are there individuals that, I know that you had indicated that individuals would like to talk about the budget, but not necessarily a request to talk about the R&R hearing?
I don't have any.
Okay, great. So we will close that public hearing at 7:13. And we will move on to item 11.
Request for approval of resolution to levy a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate.
The city's revenue neutral rate, which I called R&R before, revenue neutral rate calculated by Franklin County is 44.396 mils. Commissioners, do you have questions or do you, anything you'd like to address regarding this resolution? If not, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor, I will move to approve item number 11 on our agenda. But also during the comments, I would like to have our city attorney explain a little bit about the R&R from a state legislative standpoint.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution to levy a property tax that exceeds the revenue neutral rate. Under discussion, there was a request to have our city attorney wear a different hat and explain a legislative point of view.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, the intention behind Senate Bill 13, which led to the hearing that you're holding tonight, is to do exactly what you've just done. That is to provide some clarity and transparency for taxpayers. Property taxation is complicated. You have the value of your property, usually a home, that seems to go up every year. You have different taxing entities, a school district, a county, a city, a library, a recreation commission. Some places have cemetery districts and townships on top of that. And it becomes very difficult for the average taxpayer to know, why are my taxes going up? Who's raising my taxes? I just know that I'm paying more this year than I did last year. And the feeling was that oftentimes local governments say, well, but we're holding the mill levy steady. We're not raising the mill levy, but yet there's still more taxes coming in because the assessed valuation in the county has gone up. And so as you see here in your public hearing, the total value of all property in the city went from 106 million to 110 million. So there's a higher value of that property. So the same mill levy would bring in more dollars. And so what this hearing does is allow the taxpayers to understand that, yes, more money is being brought in than last year. even though the mill levy may remain constant. And so it's only intended to increase transparency so that citizens can follow along and understand. And it's not to say that salaries don't go up, or the cost of fuel doesn't go up, or the cost of maintaining equipment doesn't go up. It's merely to be able to provide a clearer line for citizens to trace where's that money going, and not get lost in the details of mill levies versus different taxing entities versus dollars. So that was the intention. I think that the hearing and that Director Landis has done a very wonderful job of giving the facts and the numbers and presenting that to you and to the public. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them, but that's kind of Senate Bill 13 in a nutshell.
That's what I was gonna say. Exactly.
Glad you didn't have to do that,
Yeah,
Commissioner
that's right,
Skidmore,
that's right.
under your comments. Are there other comments? If none, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Wygant is absent. Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
And Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. All right, we've had our first revenue neutral rate hearing. Look at that. Way to go, commissioners. That moves us on to item 12 on the agenda.
Public hearing, City of Ottawa proposed 2022 budget.
There will be preliminary comments by Director of Finance Melanie Landis and/or our City Manager Richard Neinstead. A public hearing has been scheduled to receive comments about the proposed 2022 budget. The proposed mill levy cannot be increased, but it may be decreased. After public comments have been received, it is recommended that the hearing be closed and, barring any amendments, the budget be adopted. So I'm going to open the public hearing for the 2022 budget at 7:18. Director Landis.
Thank you very much. Again, this is just, the PowerPoint slides are really intended as a summary for our community and as a reminder for you as the mayor and commission in this budget process, specifically under this public hearing. Next slide, please. On August 14th, as required under budget law, we did publish the notice of public hearing, both for the R&R and for the budget hearing. So both, this is just a replication of what appeared in the newspaper, and the city commission can adopt, as you said in your previous statements, they can adopt a budget that is less or the same as the published expenditure, ad valorem tax rate, and ad valorem total dollar number for each fund, but not more than the published amounts. Next slide, please. The 2022 operating budgets have been prepared to support continued city services and operational expenditures. Each department director and community agencies have made presentations to the City Commission with budget requests to be considered. Over the past 2 years, most operating expenditures have either decreased or have been held level as the financial impact of the COVID-19 pandemic was unknown. The 2022 budgets show a return to normal operating expenditures supported by a conservative revenue forecast, maintaining adequate fund balances in each fund with a focus on discussion and planning for each requested budget. The assessed valuation, as we just discussed, it is set by the county, or as a calculation off of the appraised value every year by the county. The appraised values come out early in the year. We get our assessed valuation totals somewhere mid-year by June 15th. And you'll see here in the yellow column all the way to the right that 2021 valuation is what supports the 2022 operating budget. And that we did see an increase this year of 5.2% in assessed valuation. Next slide, please. Our budget, all of the budgets do provide to you city services and community improvement projects, our support for our community services, our utilities, and our library. The community service or community partner request, this is just a summary table for you to show what has been awarded in prior years, what's been requested, and what's being proposed or recommended for those agencies. You have had earlier in the budget process discussion about each of these agencies. Each of them were given an opportunity to present to you their materials, and this is our recommendation. Next slide, please. This is just a very busy graph showing you where the breakdown of the dollars go for just the mill levy supported funds. Now, this doesn't include all of the other funds like special highway and special parks and all of the other utilities even, because those aren't mill levy supported funds. So just to give you a kind of a picture of what that looks like and what those mill levy or those ad valorem dollars that you see in your property tax bills each year for just the city of Ottawa represent and are supporting for your community. Next slide, please. And then this is just a summary of the proposed 2022 operating budget. In the packet that was sent out to you, it's a budget memo and it has several exhibits included in it. One of those is a summary, a couple of summary pages actually, that outline the items that are included in this budget process, and they are numerous. And that is, in our opinion, as your staff and your community partners, that what it takes to be able to continue to provide the high quality of life for our community, maintain and improve our public infrastructure and public facilities, support our community services, and responsible fiscal management of operations, including the additions of personnel and replacement of aged equipment and vehicles. So the proposed 2022 operating budget represents a 3.5% increase in ad valorem taxes over the 2021 budget and a decrease in the mill levy overall of 0.747 mils, which is the second year of mill levy decreases for the city of Ottawa. I might just point out that this is what those totals are at the bottom is for all funds. That is $49,933,616. The mill levy funds are the top four that are listed and included in the summary that I've just given you. The general fund, the debt service fund, the library, and the auditorium. And with that, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Commissioners, are there questions? No questions? Because we haven't heard these already enough. No questions. Are there individuals who would like to, sorry, I've got something in here I've got to have. There you go. What individuals have requested for public comment this
We have
evening?
Terry Chartier.
Okay, Cherry Chartier. However, we're going to yield to our city manager, because I did say your name after.
Thank you,
Dr.
Commissioners.
Lavis.
Richard Nienstead, City Manager. Just real shortly, just a summary for the public. This is the most important policy decision that the elected officials make every year. And I would just reiterate that you have worked on this budget almost every meeting, virtually every meeting since the end of May. There's been a budget discussion at every meeting. And I would also tell you that your staff has worked very hard, your department heads and their people. Your Director of Finance has worked hard on putting this information together and guiding us through this process. So this is not a dartboard process, but this is a document being proposed to you about the future of our city and about what your staff sees as the needs for not only next year, but the coming year. So this is the toughest part of the process, is this budget hearing and eventual adoption. But we are happy to answer any questions you have. I appreciate the opportunity of working on this budget for you, and this being the 15th budget that I've done here, so thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Nienstead. Terry Chartier, would you like to address? Hi, Terry.
Hello.
Tell us who you are and who you're representing.
I am Terry, sorry, I'm Terry Chartier. I'm representing the Ottawa Library.
Uh-oh, watch out, because here goes the podium.
Oh, thank you very much. That's good. Sure. Yeah. And I do apologize. I apologize for that. Sorry. I did not realize that I would be limited to 3 minutes, so I may go over, and I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I think that we can be, we can look beyond 3 minutes, but we can't look beyond 30 minutes.
Okay.
And probably if
That's
you
a
could
deal.
keep it to, 5 or less, that would be great.
Okay, that's a deal. All right, I have just handed you out a collection of stories for supporting why libraries are important. This comes from staff and a few patrons, and they're great stories, so I hope you take the time to read them. Several times throughout the budget discussion, Ottawa Library has been referred to as an outside organization. I would refer the Ottawa Library as one of the City of Ottawa's biggest partners. The 2022 budget that we have presented represents a reduced mill levy for 2022. Our current mill is 9.414. We are reducing it by 0.311 to 9.103. We are limited in our mill by city ordinance. We are currently at 12.95 charter ordinance, which limits us to 10 mills. That has been in effect for 26 years. That's a pretty good record on our part to stay below 10 mills. Some key points that I want to share. Our budget is 2.14% of the entire city budget. Our mill levy is 8.7% of the entire Franklin County and City of Ottawa mill. Our ad valorem tax total, $5,069,390. The city ad valorem total, is that amount, and that represents 10.15% of the total budget, the $49.9 million. The library's portion of that ad valorem is $1,004,096, which is 19.81%. The entire 2002 Ottawa Library budget is $1,195,054. That is less than 1 month's payroll for the county. We do not receive sales tax or other income from the city. The 2020 budget amendment was completed and tax funds that were collected above estimates were paid out. The city also would have got additional tax funds, and they would have automatically gone into their accounts. They don't have to do a budget amendment. Overages are a good thing. The economy is doing well. It means people are paying their taxes. It means people are buying real estate, buying vehicles, probably newer vehicles that are adding to that tax amount. There have been tax years when the library didn't receive all the tax funds or the budget amount that we had budgeted for, and we've had to make adjustments, so those years happen too. The county provides the library with the motor vehicle tax estimate for the budget each year. In accordance with Kansas Statute 752556, public libraries are eligible for grant in aid if municipalities supporting the library allocate no less for the new budget year than was received in the current year. In accordance with Nichols accreditation standards, member libraries must meet this statute to qualify for Nichols grants. In 2011, I, Terry Chartier, was named director of the library. Due to the economy at the time, the library board of trustees and I agreed that it was in the best interest of the library that I became director, and I also kept my business manager responsibilities. I am continuing to do both roles. So that has helped us stay below that 10 mil limit. Our capital improvement fund, which has some tax dollars in it, which is allowed by law, also has fundraising money in it, and it has lease income from the 228 West 15th properties that remain on the tax rolls until we are ready to break ground for our new library. After the purchase of the 228 West 15th properties, the Ottawa Library Board of Trustees asked our city commissioner that was on our board at the time if there would be a problem if we started increasing reserves in capital improvement in support of the expenses moving forward with the new library. At that time, we were told there should not be an issue because of the purchase of the property. Knowing that we weren't always be able to do that based on how the taxes fell. We are happy to use a different estimate for delinquent taxes in the future. With a decreased delinquent tax estimate, we would probably discuss eliminating late fees, discuss increasing our building maintenance manager to full-time, send some staff to ALA conference, discuss additional PR funds, and increase expenses in accordance with our 12% requirement for materials. During budget discussions, one of the commissioners suggested that we could reduce our professional meetings line, which is $10,000, and compared it to the city commission salary of $9,000. In addition to the commission salary line of $9,000, city commission has a travel expense commissioner line of $9,625. Considering the city line item covers 5 city commissioners and the library line item covers 30 employees, I'd say we're probably providing a pretty adequate stewardship of taxpayer funds for that amount. Ottawa Library is a major service center 2 library. That's something to be very proud of. There's only 4 libraries in the nickel system that are above us. As a major service center 2 library, we have high standards for our services, materials, and programs that we provide to the community. Libraries are needed. Libraries even the playing field for those who do not have access to services and materials we offer. For example, we provide computers, Wi-Fi, laptops, books, DVDs, classes, crafts, magazines, newspapers, programming, etc., to all, regardless of economic level. Libraries improve the quality of life for individuals in the communities they serve. Improving the life of one individual in a community has a snowball effect of improving the lives of that community. Libraries advance the human condition. When deciding to move to a new area, many families consider certain services important and will research information about the following: schools, libraries, hospitals, police, and fire protection. Libraries are designed to be autonomous, having the freedom to govern itself or control its own affairs, having the freedom to act independently, acting in accordance with one's moral duties rather than one's desires. In addition, we currently are in need of a new vending machine or a major repair on our current vending machine. The library does not own any vehicles. The library does not pay for any staff cell phones. We would love to purchase a bookmobile in the future. Lawrence Library just purchased one for $120,000. We have bought property for the purpose of building a new library. A pre-campaign assessment is in the works right now. Ottawa Library was established in March 1872 by 15 members of the Ladies' Reading Club, with 9 members paying $1 in dues. We have been in existence and improving lives for more than 149 years. You're not in existence that long and doing stuff wrong. So we have a great following and we offer great services. You as members of the City Commission should be very proud of the library and the staff that we have at Ottawa, Kansas. The value, importance, and benefits the Ottawa Library brings to our community stand well in line with those of Prairie Paws Animal Shelter, Ottawa Memorial Auditorium, Ottawa Police Department, Ottawa Fire Department, the Elizabeth Layton Center, the schools, the parks, etc. I am proud to be a part of an organization that brings so much good to the lives of those it serves. I can't imagine Ottawa without Ottawa Library.
Thank you, Terry. We appreciate it, and I appreciate the passion in which you delivered that. So thank you. We could tell it came from the heart. So thank you so much. Are there others that have requested to offer public comment?
I have none registered.
Okay. Are there individuals in the audience that would like to offer public comment who may not have registered? Okay. Then we will close the public hearing for the 2022 budget at 7:35. Commissioners, let's move on to item 13 on the agenda.
Adoption of the 2022 budget.
Following public discussion at study sessions, many study sessions, as well as tonight's presentation and comments during the public hearing, adoption of the 2022 budget is recommended. Commissioners, do you want to have a discussion about this? How would you like to move forward on this? I know I have some comments, questions before I entertain a motion. Would it be okay if I
You go right ahead.
go?
Start it off.
Okay. I have a question for, and this may be a question for either Chief Weingartner or for Melanie, regarding, I know that we have grant match money within our budget. What happens if we are not awarded those grants? What happens to that money that we have already set aside? Where does that money go? I don't, and you can both come up together. Doesn't matter.
Chief Weingartner, thank you. For which grant are you talking about? I'm fine.
Well, hold on. You gotta hold on. It's the grant match. The addition of the full-time police officer, there's a grant match of $15,000, which is in your personnel highlights.
Those funds are part of the crisis corresponder program. So additional, last few years, we've budgeted $25,000. 2 years ago, we lowered that because of some of the budget reductions. So in order to meet last year's budget reduction, which was down to 15, we changed that match to 15,000 from 25 for the crisis corresponder. If we do not get the grant to pay the additional salary, that $15,000 will remain in the police budget identified for a crisis corresponder, and then we can try to see if some of our community partners would be willing to match us. The other grant is the community police officer. If we do not get that grant, we will not add any additional police officers, and we will not need those grant match funds.
So those funds that will already be drawn down, what will happen to those? To general fund?
So they're already budgeted in the general fund, and they would stay there. And it'd be just like any unspent funds, they just roll over to your beginning fund balance for the next year. And I might just say as a broad statement, it might depend on the grant itself. So say, for example, the fire truck, the fire engine that's been budgeted for a lease payment is all that's in here. But if we weren't to get the grant for that and we were to need those dollars, they're budgeted for. But if we were to get the grant and we don't need as much or any of those dollars, then we could either transfer them to the equipment reserve fund for some other purchase, or they can stay in the general fund and roll over to the next year. It would be the same concept with any of your other funds, whether it's grant match or not. Anything that's unspent would stay in that fund and then roll over.
And I'll just add one more comment about that, just from a timeline perspective. When we started to do the really deep budget conversations, particular to the two grants we're talking about, that information was released the week before we made our budget presentation to you. So the timeline is not great for you all to make that decision, because we won't know about any of the grants until after the budget's been adopted. And that's fairly standard with a federal budget grant cycle. Thank you.
It's a lengthy process, I'm well aware, so yes, thank you. I do, and my apologies, because I have little sticky notes up here, and I went out of order of my comments, but I did want to give kudos to Ms. Landis. This is probably some of the most comprehensive reporting that we've received, and all the budgets that I've been through, and I know that Commissioner Jorgensen has been through more than I am. I'm not sure that that's a badge of courage or not, but some of the most comprehensive reporting that we've received in my years where I have sat here and represented Ottawa. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. I continue to have concerns about, and I made these concerns vocal at the last study session about adding additional vehicles. I'm concerned about the access to those vehicles and whether or not those are actually going to be available to us. And I hate for us to take money if we don't know if we can actually acquire those vehicles. I also am concerned about when we have such a large debt load, for us to consider leasing vehicles. I recognize why we do that. I get why we do that. I understand why people lease vehicles. However, I hate to hold the next commission accountable for what we do. by leasing cars and doing things like that. Because we do have a debt load, and I really believe that we need to pay that debt down. And so adding to the debt load I do have some concerns about that. I think that is going to, that will hear my concerns. Any other concerns or comments from commissioners?
Well, I just want to say a general statement too, how much work department heads go into working with their city manager and Melanie, putting these budgets together. I know many times we talk about needs and wants and desires and wishes and all those kind of things, and I really believe that our people have a good grasp of the fiduciary responsibility we have as commissioners to approve or disapprove a budget and what goes in it. But I really appreciate all the facts that people bring to us. I feel like it's out in the public, nothing's hidden. I appreciate that. You come with good presentations. Many times I think sometimes when you're professional, your job, it looks easy to everybody else when you really know it's not. But you've done a great job in putting these numbers together. Melanie, I agree with all the details we've been provided. I love numbers, and so I've been able to pour over these, and thank you very much for all your dedication making this happen. And we appreciate you working for our city and bringing these numbers to us and in the fashion we've been very easy to understand and very discreet, and I appreciate very much what you've done. So good work.
At the last city commission study session, I know that I had requested to talk about what that would look like if we were to reduce our budget by $0.5 mil or $0.25 mil. Was that data made available to us?
So we, if you don't mind,
yes,
we did run, we had talked about what you could do or how you could accomplish those. And all of those options that we kind of presented to you and had kind of been prioritized by your city manager, those are all still available to you as itemized things that we could reduce or make budget amendment or adjustments for or elimination of. We also ran the calculations that Commissioner Skidmore had asked, and when we had a conversation about lease purchasing and whether or not we could do everything or if we did more. And so really the reality is you can do anything that you want to with those dollars. And I understand that the desire to want to reduce or meet the middles come in somewhere there. So we did determine that even with the lease purchasing even 2 more vehicles, that does bring it down to about $75,000, and or any of those other options that were presented to you and kind of prioritized by your city manager. The numbers, I think it was the 50,000 was $0.5 mil decrease, and I believe that the 75,000 was the difference, or roughly the difference between where we sit right now and what the revenue neutral rate was. It wasn't necessarily tied to an actual decrease itself, but to meet somewhere in the middle. All of those options, if you want to discuss those, or if you'd like some more detailed information, I can get into those. When we provided the operating budget summary as an exhibit in the budget memo, we did show for some of those that were already included which ones we had planned to already lease purchase. I know we had that conversation before, and Mayor, to your point, that's a fine balancing act as to how many you lease purchase and how many you carry over to future years because of that debt burden, but also the interest burden to future budgets. I'm really realizing that most of those would be 5-year lease purchases, with the exception of maybe the fire engine being 10 years. We did not, what I provided in the exhibit doesn't eliminate anything. It just is a highlight of everything that's been presented to you. When you make your motion and or have further conversation, you can direct that conversation towards in the motion of approving the budget at whatever level you would desire.
Mayor Kaler.
Yes.
Just would like to talk somewhat about, just point out a couple things here. The proposed budget is as was given to us, the information is a 3.5% increase in the in spending for the city. I'd like to point out that that the rolling 12-month inflation nationally that's put out by the federal government, the rolling 12-month, and the latest figure is from July of 2021. So from August through July, the inflation rate was 5.4%. So the increase is less than the rate of inflation for the proposed budget for 2022. I also did a little bit of research to look at what peer communities are doing as well. I purchased a database from the league, which compiles the mill levies for each of the communities within the state. I wanted to create a peer group, so I did it real scientifically. I took by population. I threw out all the MSA, all the communities that are based in an MSA. So the Kansas City MSA and the Wichita MSA, the communities that are around Wichita and Kansas City were thrown out, and came up with a list of 12 peer communities similar in size to what Ottawa was. The largest one being Junction City with 21,500 2020 population. The smallest being Wellington with 7,600 in population. And those are the 12 communities that are the nearest size to Ottawa. And I would ask what you thought the average mill levy would be overall. And I found it was interesting. The average is 175.3 mills. Frankly, Ottawa, for the total mill levy for the community, ranked 7th, which means, interesting enough, there were 6 above us and 6 below us. So we were right in the middle of what that peer group is. That was not planned, but it was an interesting concept. But when you pay your tax bill, you don't just pay the city taxes. All the other taxing entities come into it. So that the biggest ones being the county and the school district. In that same peer group, we looked at the counties and the biggest county. Well, our largest in that peer group is Junction City, which is in the Geary County, and then the smallest would be Sumner County. And those mill levies range from 37 mills in Ellis County, 37 mills in Ellis County, to the largest one is 71 mills in Geary County. Franklin County comes in at 61.246, and these are all 2020 mill levies, so it's last year's figures. But Franklin County came at 61.246. And that ranks in that group number 4 from highest to lowest. So there's three counties in that peer group that are higher, and the rest of the 13 counties are lower. So I would say that Franklin County's mill is somewhat high in that peer group. And then the school district, it ranged from a low of 23.5 mills to a high of 47.1 mills, and the lowest being Junction City, and the highest being USD 290, Ottawa School District. So there's a number of different things, and it's how a community sets its priorities. But and several of these towns, and I'll list the cities: Wellington, Fort Scott, Chanute, Parsons, Atchison, Arkansas City, Ottawa, McPherson, Great Bend, Liberal, Pittsburgh, Hayes, and Junction City. And but you'll recognize that several of them also have community colleges in them, and the community college has a mill. And the mill levy ranged from a high of 202.5 mils to the low of Hayes and Ellis County of 110. And you think Hayes and Ellis County has a fairly good-sized college university in that community. Plus, it also has a lot of hotels, and transient guest tax is a big income figure for Hayes, Ellis County. But I thought it was interesting to note that the Ottawa, Franklin County, USD 290, and all the other entities that levy mills within our community, our local community, that we are right in the middle of what our peer group is.
That's very good.
Good point. Thank you, Commissioner Jorgensen. You always bring good information to us. Thank you. Other comments before we entertain a motion? Well, I think that then if there are no more additional comments, I will entertain a motion to adopt the 2022 budget as the motion should be made.
Madam Mayor, I will make the motion, we adopt this budget that's presented to us in item number 13 on our agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2022 budget as presented to us. Any discussion?
If I may, I just want to say, to kind of go along with Commissioner Skidmore's comments earlier about the yeoman's work that Melanie and all the other department heads did. Our city manager made a comment earlier about how, we've put a lot of work into it, and quite honestly, I don't think we have. We haven't. We just sit up here and we take the paperwork, we read over the numbers, and, we're sure, we ask some questions and things like that, but, the department heads do. I mean, we've been dealing with it for 4 months. The department heads deal with it all year. They're the ones doing all the legwork, all the hard work. So I want to congratulate all them on the hard work that they've done. And I guess I should have said that right before this, but I kind of decided to bring it up right now. We're enshrined, I guess, with the decision. And we deal with sometimes the hardships, but. We didn't do much work. It was all that you guys that did all the hard work, and I certainly appreciate it.
Good. The one comment I do want to make is when I was briefly looking over the information that was provided to us by Terry Chartier with why libraries are important, one thing that stuck out to me was a comment by a lifelong patron of the Ottawa Library that it has come to their attention that the Ottawa City Commission is considering cutting the funding for the library. No, wherever the camera is, no, we're not. No, we're not. Senate Bill 13 asked us to and challenged us to hold our spending flat. We are accountable for every single dollar that we allocate and that we ask taxpayers to spend, including all of us that are paying our tax bill. Never did you hear from my words, I am trying to cut the funding for the library. In fact, I think that if Terry were to get up here, she would say, she's heard me say not once, but 36 times, how many times I use the library. How many books I've read off Hoopla, how many times I have utilized the library services, and how much I appreciate them. What I think that probably I wish that would have been heard or told was that we have been asked, and we've not only been asked, we have been told to hold the line flat. And that was told to us by the Kansas legislature. We have no choice except for to hold it flat. And so please do not think that we are trying to cut funding for the library. It couldn't be further from the truth. What we are doing is we are simply passing along the message that was given to us that was told we need to hold it flat. So, saying that, that's my comment. Is there any other comment? We will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Wygand is absent. Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
And Mayor Kaler.
And I vote yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Melanie. We have truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if I might just let you know, just walking in the door and working with your staff, I continue to be impressed every single day by your department heads and our staff and their knowledge and their willingness to learn and come together to try and come up with solutions and being very creative. So thank you for the acknowledgement and also thank you to all of our staff.
Thank you. That moves us on to some great stuff that we have. Not that the budget's not great, because it absolutely is. But item 14 on the agenda.
Request for approval of ordinance authorizing the issuance and delivery of general obligation refunding and improvement bonds.
This ordinance authorizes issuance and delivery of $6,270,000 in principal amount of a Series 21 or 2021B general obligation bonds. And hold on to your hat, but Tyler Ellsworth is here in the audience tonight, and he is going to present this information to us. And I believe that David Arterberry is on with us via Zoom, but we have seen David too. So, but we just haven't seen Tyler in person. And David, have you gotten your coffee mug from Tyler? Yes or no? Have you gotten your coffee mug? No. Okay. Well, I'm sure you've got a gross of them on order, right?
I do.
And
That's right.
plants, great
That's
too.
right. That's right.
So, Mr. Arterberry, Mr. Ellsworth, what do you have to tell us today?
Well, good evening, everyone. I would actually like to yield to Mr. Arterberry to first present the results of the bond sale. City staff, together with Mr. Arterberry and myself, took bids for these 2021B general obligation refunding bonds this morning, and he can provide you details of the bids that the city received. Following that report from him, I can walk through item 14 and item 15 on your agenda.
Great, thank you. Mr. Arterberry, what do you have to share the great news with everyone today? Oh, no, we can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay?
We can now, yes.
Okay, good. First of all, yeah, as the city opened bids today for the sale of the 2021B general obligation refunding and improvement bonds, and just as a reminder, what this issue does is it provides funds to refinance the 2007 bonds that the city issued, the 2010B bonds that the city has outstanding, as well as it's going to provide funding for a new cooling tower project for the electric system. We ended up getting bids today up until 11 o'clock, and the city received a total of 7 bids for the bonds, which was a wonderful result. Actually, that's one more bid than we got when we sold the city's Series 2021A bonds back in April. The best bid was submitted by Commerce Bank of Kansas City at a true interest cost of 0.629323%. And keep in mind, it's a very, very low interest rate because it's a pretty short bond issue. It only goes out to 2028. We reviewed the bid. It met all of the bidding parameters, and Commerce Bank provided the necessary good faith deposit. So we really think that this is a good bid that you should accept. Just to give you an idea, or kind of to summarize some of the results here, the savings that you're going to be able to achieve by refinancing those 2 bond issues is $671,784, which is about $90,000 higher than we had previously estimated. The cooling tower portion of the issue, which is a 5-year borrowing, has got an all-in borrowing rate on it of about 0.93%, which is about 2 or 0.3% lower than we had previously anticipated. So overall, a great result, not just in the bidding, but in comparison to where we had initially anticipated the results to be. Would add one more thing before I turn it back to Tyler, that when you add the refunding savings that you achieved with this issue, the $671,000, on top of what the city achieved in its refinancing earlier this year, the total savings to taxpayers and ratepayers in the city is going to be approximately $1,014,000. So good news. And obviously welcome any questions that you might have.
Questions for Mr. Arterberry? No?
We're all just kind of shocked by
Yes.
this. I mean,
Where can we sign?
yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, weren't we expecting about another 30 or 40 basis points higher than this?
Yeah. I was anticipating a rate. Well, when we first started looking at this, of about 1.2%. Right before we took bids, I was predicting the best rate of about 0.9%. I had to end up making the claim after we opened the bids. Every single one of the bids came in under 0.9%.
Yeah.
So I was, I had to sort of readjust what I was claiming we would be getting as a bid.
Well, who are you picking for the Super Bowl this year? I better,
Chiefs.
we'll go the other way then. Okay.
Any additional questions for Mr. Arterberry? I'm going to yield to Mr. Ellsworth.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, item 14 and 15 on your agenda are related. Item 14 is consideration of the ordinance that authorizes the issuance of the bonds. Item 15 is consideration of the resolution that prescribes the forms and the details of those bonds. And I would note that the par amount that's listed on your agenda is bracketed. That's a par amount of $6,270,000. Part of what we did with receiving the bids this morning was then to resize the issue so the city actually borrows less, and the revised par amount is $5,925,000. So that's for both the ordinance and the resolution. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So $5,925,000.
Yes.
Todd, it seemed like on the last issue, we did the kind of same thing, didn't we? That gave us a better rate because we're doing this method, so.
That's correct. You don't need to borrow quite as much because the bonds are purchased at a premium, so you use that premium to reduce the borrowing
Total
amount.
cost, very good. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes. Commissioner.
I move to approve the resolution to approve the ordinance authorizing the issuance and delivery of the GO bonds as indicated in item 14 of our agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jorgensen and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Crowley. Is there any discussion? All right, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Wygand is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
And Mayor Kaler.
And I vote yes, motion carries. That moves us on to item 15 on the agenda.
Request for approval of resolution prescribing the form and details of and authorizing delivery of general obligation refunding and improvement bonds.
This resolution prescribes the form, details, and authorizes delivery of the principal amount of the Series 2021B general obligation bonds. Mr. Ellsworth or Mr. Arterberry, who'd like to go first?
I have nothing further, Mayor.
Okay. Anything from you, David? Nope. All right, great. I will entertain a motion, if there is one, to approve the resolution.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I'll make the motion to approve item 15.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution as listed in item 15. Is there any discussion? We will proceed to vote.
Commissioner Wygand is absent. How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
And Mayor Kaler.
And I vote yes. I almost just had us vote by acclamation because we want to vote so quickly because we don't want it to go away at this point. So thank you so much. Thank you for all your good work on this, both of you.
Congratulations on the result.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Yes.
good for the,
Thank you, everyone.
good for taxpayers. Absolutely. That moves us on to item 16 on the agenda.
Request for approval of resolution authorizing the consumption of alcoholic liquor and enhanced cereal malt beverage in a public park.
The the Ottawa Chamber of Commerce and Chautauqua Festival Committee would like permission to hold a beer garden in Forest Park during the Bop Daddies concert on September 17, 2021. Tiffany Evans is joining us via Zoom. Tiffany, welcome.
Good evening, commissioners. I hope you all are having a great evening tonight. I'll make this my request short and quick for you tonight. I am wearing my Chautauqua Festival hat this evening. I am the chairperson of the Chautauqua Festival, which is a committee of the Ottawa Chamber of Commerce. And we, of course, are always looking for new ways to fundraise for the city's annual Chautauqua Festival and fireworks display. And we are asking for your approval tonight for that temporary event permit for the sale and consumption of alcohol on Friday, September the 17th, during the Bop Daddies concert in Forest Park. The Ottawa Memorial Auditorium has, in the past several years, hosted the Bop Daddies on the parking lot, the main parking lot in Forest Park, right there by the restrooms and the tennis courts, which is also the area that that concert will take place again this year and where we would like to have the beer garden. Again, it would be a fundraiser for the Chautauqua Festival for the 2022 festival.
Tiffany, thanks for joining us tonight. Can you tell me a little bit about the time parameters that you are looking at for this particular event?
Sure. So the concert begins at 6:30 and goes until 9:30. Our request for the permit is from 5 to 10. We don't anticipate beginning selling anything until 6 o'clock, but just to give us a little leeway on each side of the concert. But really, we're looking at that 6 to 9 time that we would actually be selling the alcohol.
Perfect. Other questions for Tiffany?
Tiffany, just for the public, could you tell us how you plan to protect the community from any underage drinking too?
Absolutely. So the area will be closed off with snow fencing, and our Chautauqua Festival Committee will have volunteers or our committee members placed at each entrance and exit, making sure, one, that people don't leave with alcohol out of the gated area. And then we'll also be carding each individual who would like to make a purchase to make sure that they are of legal age.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Tiffany? If not, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve item 16.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution authorizing the consumption of alcoholic liquor and enhanced cereal malt beverages for September 17th. Is there any discussion? All right, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Weigand is absent. Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
And Mayor Kaler.
And I vote yes. Motion carries. That moves us on to item 17 on our agenda.
Request for approval of resolution authorizing K68 Transportation Alternative Sidewalk Project.
This project will add sidewalks from on K68 from North Locust to Oak Street and from K68 to Tecumseh on Main Street. Staff recommends approving the low bid to the Amino Brothers Company, Inc. in the amount of $366,343. The city's share of this project will be $124,584. I believe that Mr. Hafley is on for this evening to have a conversation with us about this, and this is a relatively new, something new for us to speak about tonight that wasn't necessarily on our agenda a few days ago.
That's correct, Mayor. This is Mike Hafley, Public Works Director. Apologize for not getting to a study session, but by the time I got this paperwork back from KDOT, I had until the 10th of September to get it back to them. So that's the reason for the rush. This project was actually initiated in 2018 as a sidewalk project along K68 from North Locust to Oak on both the north and south sides of K68, along with some median improvements on K68. Due to the recent rise in construction costs, the project had to be minimized. We had to take some things out of the project. We took the median work out. We took the sidewalk on the north side out. We decided that since I can't remember the name of the street, and I apologize, a block north of K68 has sidewalks, that we would go with sidewalks on the south side of K68 up to Oak. But the rise, the cost, you can see in the memo that the increase in cost from the original project, when they got ready to go out to bid in the spring like they planned to, the expected costs of the project were well over $600,000. So we had to cut the project back to get it back within or as close to the original budget as what we had planned. So with the bids that came in, you can see that 3 bids came in, let me get the correct page. We had 4 bids come in. Amino Brothers was the low bid at $365,993. With the requirement of water, it brought the total bid up to, the right page, $366,343. This project will not only encompass sidewalks from North Locust to Oak Street, but it will also tie in the box culvert underneath K68 at the Main and 68 intersection there by Carstar. It will tie that box culvert into the culvert that we replaced, or into the box that we put in earlier this year with another stormwater project. The resolution before you is a standard resolution from KDOT. Although the city matching funds is $124,584, the KDOT rounds that up to the nearest $1,000, so that brings our matching funds up to $125,000, and those funds are available in the special highway fund. Excuse me. Forgot where I was going. The funds are available in the like I said, in the special highway fund. The project is set to begin with an early start date as soon as the contracts are signed, and with a late start date of, I believe, April 1st of 2022. Staff, I do recommend the approval of this resolution. Blaine Finch, the city attorney, has reviewed the resolution and has determined it's a standard resolution with KDOT. Subject to your questions, I will yield to you.
Questions for Mr. Hafley?
Michael, Commissioner Crowley here. I got a few questions for you. You've mentioned North Locust a couple times, so just to kind of reference, it's kind of over by Forest Park by the pool. So I'm assuming that these sidewalks will probably be well traveled by children going from the pool to their north side of the Ottawa locations. So you mentioned both north side and south side of what I'll call Keokuk, because that's what I guess the county has it marked, or as we know it as 68 Highway. You're gonna stay on the south side of 68 and connect to, I believe there's an existing sidewalk already there, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then when it cuts across over by, I believe, Dodd's Memorials and stuff, where does that actually tie in? Because most of that is there sidewalks over there on that side?
The sidewalk will actually go on the south side. The sidewalk will go from Dodd's Memorial all the way up to Oak. And at Oak Street, there's a sidewalk going on east, and it also ties in going to the crossing Keokuk or K-68 to the north. So
So
there'll be so people will be able to come across K-68 to the sidewalk and come down that way, or they'll be able to stay on, I
it's
apologize.
Logan Street.
Logan, there you
Yeah,
go.
you had it earlier.
Okay, stay on Logan and go over to North Main Street that way.
Okay, and forgive me, I was headed the other direction once we got to Dodds. If you were going west, where were those sidewalks run?
Well,
'Cause-
if you're going west, you'll cross the street there on North Main there, K-68 Main. If you're going west, you will go over to Casey's, and the sidewalk will go north to tie in up there by K-State Bank, Kansas State Bank.
Okay, thank you. And that was my next concern, is that, that's a pretty heavily traveled road there, and where would the crossing be? And obviously with traffic signals there, that's a benefit. So, okay, no, I'm familiar with what you're talking about now. Michael, thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael, it's Mike Skidmore. So the sidewalk by Dodds Memorial going east, it follows K-68 around that curve. How far will the sidewalk be from the street?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I do not have the plans in front of me, but I believe they will be on the backside of the streetlights, I believe.
Okay, all right. I mean, I think it's a great idea myself. I see people using the Levy system. I see them walking down the median. I see them walking all over the place, getting from east end of town over to the park. So any kind of improvement, I think, is a good thing. So I'll make a recommendation or a motion. We approve item 17 on our agenda.
Second.
Yeah. Sounds like we have a second and a third. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution authorizing the K-68 Transportation Alternative Sidewalk Project. Is there any discussion? We've had plenty of discussion. We'll vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, thank you. That moves us on to reports by our city manager.
Well, you have no report on the codes from me because you already had it. So I want to thank you for what you do to serve this community. I want to thank you for the time that you put in on the budget and every other agenda item that comes before you. I appreciate that, and thank you for a good evening.
Okay, thank you. That moves us on to reports by our city commissioners. Mayor Pro Tem Crowley.
I have no report.
Commissioner, I almost wanted to call you trustee. I'm sorry, but we've worn lots of different hats tonight. Trustee Skidmore.
No report.
Trustee, no, I'm sorry. Commissioner Jorgensen. I did say it. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman or Mayor or whatever.
Whatever
hat
I
you
am
are.
today.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I thank you for all the hard work from all the staff members and department heads and this is the 15th budget hearing that I've been a part of putting together, and all of them different, and the process went smoothly this year. So thank you very much for that. And I'm proud to say that this is my last budget. So I will be aging out this year. So
Well,
You'll be out there addressing us next
yeah,
year.
exactly. Public comments are reserved to 3 minutes. I just want to remind you.
That's right.
And whoever the next mayor is can hold you to that.
That's right.
Reports by the mayor. I just truly do thank the staff for all that they have done. This is a collaborative effort, and I appreciate it tremendously. So thank you, and thank you to the citizens who participate in this process. We're here to represent you, but we certainly do so when we do so best when we hear from you. That moves us on to announcements. And on September 6th, it's the Labor Day holiday, and our study session has been canceled. Land Bank meeting was scheduled for the 13th of September, but we canceled that tonight because we made so much progress. You can go back and watch the meeting right before this if you'd like to know all about that. It is shorter than this meeting, so just note that. September 15th, we have our regular meeting at 10 a.m. at City Hall, and September 15th, we have our joint city-county school board luncheon at noon at Franklin County. I'm not sure if we're addressing this today. Are we addressing that today? Okay. If there's nothing else to be brought forth by the, or in front of
Madam
these
Mayor?
Ottawa City, yes.
Did we have a executive session? Okay.
So I think that nothing else is to be brought forth in front of us today. We will adjourn this meeting at 8:21 on September 1st. Thank you.